Hello, and welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. Today we have a very, very special guest for the show today. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. Today I got a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. My name is Leanna DeBellevue. I'm the owner of DeBellevue Consulting, and I am calling in from sunny Arizona. We're in Queen Creek, Arizona.
Okay, and can you tell me about your past leading up into your present?
Absolutely. So it started, my entrepreneurial journey, I think, started about 16 years ago. I became a business owner. They said, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And so I thought, I got to figure out how to make money on social media. I loved scrolling and could easily get lost in social media. So I decided to open a social media marketing company. I had no idea what I was doing and learned very quickly through some ups and downs that business ownership is a little bit harder than most people make it seem. And but was very blessed. And within 15 years, I had turned this little side hustle fun gig into a international marketing agency, helping clients in 22 countries, and I had an entire team of people. So in August of this year, I actually sold our agency. It was time for me to pass the baton onto people who had a passion for it and wanted to take it to the next level. And
How did this shift your life? Just giving up your business after 16 years.
yeah, no, great question. It changed everything. It was my phone was glued to me for the last 15 years. Every text message, every phone call, every email, just 24/7. I felt like there was an expectation that I had to respond and respond quickly and putting out fires. Um, and I remember the first time my phone, like I woke up and I didn't have half a dozen messages from clients or from staff or from anybody. And it really made me understand how much of my life I had been pouring into this business for the last 15 years. And it's been very, very refreshing. So many people are like, what are you going to do next? In that moment, I just wanted a minute to just not do anything. So
What were the challenges being an entrepreneur, and how did you how did you face them and try to create a safe space while you were in business?
yeah, I think you just said something very significant, which is creating a safe space. I think as business owners, as entrepreneurs, there's so much noise around us. You have to do this to be successful. You have to do this. You have to buy this. You have to be here. You have to talk to these people. And the truth is, you really don't have to do all of the things. I think as business owners, what we create is kind of like our baby. We know the right things to do for it. And sometimes you have to quiet that external noise to know what to do. Um, but I think what really, there's two things that brought me success in life. The first thing was my faith, absolutely. But secondly, has been having a group of other business owners who are forward thinking and who are more worried about straightening each other's crowns than they are about tearing people down. Having that safe space to communicate.
Other business owners, do you have any advice for that? Do you like to keep it diverse? Do you like to how do you do it, and how did you do it? Do you think the smart thing to do would be to have business partners that are like multiple, people of multiple races?
Absolutely. So I think in our society, it is just really a non negotiable to make sure that you're providing services and products that are sensitive to every race, every gender, every culture. You really have to go into it with eyes wide open. And we can't do that if we're just looking at our own perspective. I want to hear about your experiences. What's your perspective? And the more people that you can have to do that, you really can get a clear view of what's needed in the marketplace.
Speaking of market, what's good team marketing skills?
Yeah. I think the one thing I'm most proud of with the agency that I just sold and that the new company that I'm creating is company culture. Really making sure that I am empowering those who work for me to be the best version of themselves so that they can present their best self to our clients. I think that that is a key to really ensuring that you are providing a level of service that most people can't find anywhere else.
And once how do you feel like your growth has helped put a bond significantly within your faith?
Yeah, because looking back on it, there is no way I had zero experience. If I didn't have a strong faith and a belief that I would be guided as well as God would put people in my life that could help me navigate it, I really don't think I would have found success, at least not as quickly as I did, right? On those hard days, you have to have something to lean into when you just really don't want to go on tomorrow. Business ownership is hard. Some days you're having the best day ever. The very next day could be one of the hardest in your business, right? And so to be able to ride that roller coaster, I think if you don't have faith, you have an inner strength that I don't possess. I definitely need to have my faith to lean on.
Did your business ever run in a Fortune 500 company, building block or place or company? Um, yeah.
We did business with people like Ford and Berkshire Hathaway, um, Disney. We've done several things for Disney. So we've ABC, NBC. We've had a lot of experiences in those space, Universal, but we ourselves were not ranked as a Fortune 500 company. We just did business with them.
And that's well said. I kind of, well, I like the fact that you did business with a lot of reputable companies, and you've been around 13 to across 13 countries, right? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was given an opportunity to speak on several different stages, both here in the US and internationally. And I talked to people a lot about having the courage to fail. I think we touched on this for just a brief moment before we came live. And I think that there is a responsibility that successful business owners have to people who are maybe just starting out or might be struggling to be real with the ups and downs of business ownership. It's not fair to just show the highlight reel. And so I spoke on stages about having that courage to fail and just look at it as a redirection and getting you back on the right track. So that has been, and I've gotten such wonderful feedback when I talk about that topic versus anything marketing wise.
And define fail. How is it okay for an entrepreneur, and why is it okay for an entrepreneur to, and how would it benefit for an entrepreneur to fail?
Yeah. I think my goal is to fail fast. And the
I
reason
like
why I
that.
say that, right? I got to get back on track. If I see failure as a redirection, all it's doing is telling me this isn't the answer. Why do I want to keep going down a road that's a dead end? The sooner I can find out that it's not the right road, the shorter the distance is back to my starting point for me to start another opportunity, right? I think it's unrealistic for people to think that they're not going to fail. Um, I think most business owners fail epically multiple times in their business. And I think most of us fail every day at something, right? But instead of focusing on those fails, I look at it as okay, great. This is one way that won't work. What are some ways that will? And I've become very thankful for those failures because again, I would much rather learn early or soon that something's not the right path than get so far down the path, realize it's not the right path, and it's too late to turn back.
How does failures make in your life make, like, how did it make you strong? And if you can give an example of one.
Yeah. I had a really big one about 9 years ago. I partnered with someone who sold me a bill of goods. They were going to provide a certain level of performance for our clientele. I brought them in. I thought I did the vetting process. I hired them, brought them on board, and they ended up way under delivering for our clients. It was an epic fail. And my name and our brand endorsed this person, right? I literally went from having full trust from my clients to everyone saying, how could you do this, right? How could you make this big of a mistake? It was embarrassing. It was somewhat public, like within our inner circle, it was public. Um, and that one brought me to my knees. That one did not know if I was going to be able to recover. And then I had a mentor tell me that the second you shine light on it and you take accountability for it, people can't use it against you. So I did. I came out. I was very honest with it. I made a mistake. I trusted someone that I shouldn't have. I, in turn, allowed you to trust them. I take responsibility. I'm sorry. I'm learning. I will do better. And in that moment, nobody else could say anything to me about it. I was acknowledging it, right? And that's when I learned that failure in reality is typically not as bad as you make it out in your mind. In my mind, it was this huge thing that was going to destroy me. I was going to be homeless and no business and no money and all of these things, right? When the reality is, I just had to have a really awkward conversation and people gave me grace. So once I realized that failure, the majority of it was in my head, it became less scary.
Well said, Leanna. How does your team building skills like when you had your business, how do you rate your team building skills like low, moderate, high when it deals with shuffling different groups and different employees? How do you rate yourself? Please be high.
Honestly, I think that was my only focus. My focus was growing my team in a way that they felt loved, supported, free to make, to make suggestions. Honestly, free to fail. If we try something and it doesn't work, let's try something else. My company culture was my number one priority from day one. Creating a workplace that was diverse, that had inclusion, that I trusted the team that I brought in to be able to do their job. I told them, and I believe I showed them, that I believed the best in them. And because they felt that level of support within the workplace, it all went like, it just benefited everybody. They felt like the best version of themselves, which means they provided a product for our clients that made our clients succeed. The way they communicated with our clients was well received. And honestly, selling the business, the only part that I felt really tug at my heartstrings was having to tell the team that I was leaving. And every single person on my team cried. It was,
Ooh.
so to me, you can always think you're a good leader. That's fine, right? But when you see people say, I am a better person because I worked for you, like when you get that feedback, dude, that made the whole 15 years worth it right there.
Yeah, and you did a damn good job. So, how do you produce good copies of employees? How do you produce employees like that? You did a good job. So, how did you produce what was your strategy? Did you use leadership skills? Like what leadership skills? I know you use leadership skills, but what leadership skills?
I think I led with two things. One is with empathy, right? We're all human. We're all doing the very best that we can. And I truly believe that. I believe that everybody is doing the best they can every day with the tools that they are given, right? Not everyone has great tools, so maybe they won't behave in a great way. But I genuinely believe the best in people. And I led with that. I let them know we're human. We're going to make mistakes. The second thing is that every opportunity um, I have to find ways to praise them, I do, right? And I told my team at the end of the day, just like I can stand on stage and take accolades, I'm going to take the negative. So if you are ever treated in a way that is unkind or unfair, I got you. If you make a mistake, I'm taking responsibility for it. So once my team knew that I genuinely had their back, we just exploded. They came to me with great ideas. They wanted to implement new policies, new procedures, and I trusted them in their position to do the best that they could. And they did. If I had tried to micromanage them, I would have never had a product that was amazing. My team, every single person on that team surprised me every day with their ingenuity, with their dedication, with their just true desire to do a great job. So 99.9% of my success has to do with the team, period.
Obviously, you screened them, so I wanted to know what was like the red flags with the certain people that wanted to be on your team, but you didn't. You said that's okay. You passed them for the team that you molded together. So how did you feel about that?
Yeah. The one thing that no one on my team could have, and I didn't really notice it until I've been asked a question like this, was humility. The second someone would interview with me and tell me why I'd be lucky to have them, come work for the company or what they're bringing to the table, that wasn't a good fit. Our company culture was very much teamwork. And what you can't have in team is someone saying, look at how great I am. That's not good for team. I think a lot of people would interview with us and think that they were, if they impressed me, they would get a position. And it really wasn't that at all. It was people who were like, I think that I have all the qualifications and I'd really like an opportunity to show you. Or they would ask questions about the team. Tell me about company culture. They would ask about others. And I think what our team has that I wasn't able to identify in the moment until after I'm now looking back on it.
Okay. And how was your genuine, how did your genuine empathy help you when you learned about take me down the road you learned about how empathy can change people lives. And you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was modeled for me. So my very first job, I was 18 years old. I was working in a restaurant as a waitress, and some guy yelled at me because his burger was not right. Like literally yelled and was like, I went back in the walk-in cooler and I'm crying, right? I had a manager come up to me and he said, you know what? He goes, I'm going to handle this guy. But you need to remember this is burgers and fries. No one is going to lose their life if their burger's not right. No one is going to die if you don't get their fries out in a certain time, right? And he said, people are not always going to show up as the best version of themselves. That's about them, not you. So when someone is unkind, you need to just tell yourself it's burgers and fries, right? And that de-escalated the situation. I've never forgotten that lesson. And I've told my team, it's just burgers and fries. If something happens on social media and a post goes out an hour early or, it's got the wrong punctuation, well, obviously we want to correct it as quickly as possible. It's burgers and fries. No one's going to die. No one's business is going to be destroyed, right? And because it was modeled for me and I know what an impact it had for me, that's what I've taught my team. It's burgers and fries.
What was your SWOT in your business plan when you was in business?
Yeah. My strength was the team. My weakness was myself. Got my own way a whole lot of time. I overthought everything. Oh yeah. Yep. Yep. Myself was the weakness. Opportunities everywhere. I really stopped looking to identify opportunities, because the best opportunities in this journey so far have come from places I would have never expected. I'm looking over here and an opportunity pops up over here, right? So I think for me, those are the biggest lessons.
What about the threats?
The threats, myself,
Okay.
my mindset, and people who are trying to take advantage of what I built.
Understood. Can you tell me more about those people without like use a pseudonym or
Yeah,
something? I would love to know. And
yeah,
how did you overcome it?
absolutely. It took me a long time to realize that not everyone who's in your corner is cheering for you. So often other business owners would come up and they would be like, "Oh, you're doing great at this, you're doing great at that." And then I'd hear that they were talking about us, or they, were questioning some things that we were doing. And I learned to listen to people. How do they talk about others when those people aren't around? Because how they're talking about others is how they're going to talk about me. So that was that changed the trajectory of our business as well, is realizing that the threats are oftentimes business owners who are afraid to grow. They're afraid to take the leaps of faith that you did. They're not building. And so instead of focusing on growing themselves, they're looking to attack others. And most of the time, I would say a majority of the time, people will do it with a smile on their face.
That's sad, and that's true. How do you feel like people like, speaking of this, how do you feel like people like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk? Do you feel like that is why they downsize companies a little bit, back and forth, on and off, like the stock markets?
I think when you get to their level, you have such a different level of responsibility. It's not only to your team or to your customers, it's now to anyone that holds a stock, right? So I don't even know. I think that they do things that are strategic and are really not driven off feelings, right? They make business decisions, not personal decisions. If the best thing that's for their business is for them to lay off 15,000 people the day before Christmas, they're going to lay off 15,000 people the day before Christmas, right? Because at the end, the short term pain will result in long term gain. Um, I don't think I have what it takes to ever be at that level, because I don't think I can ever take the humanity out of my business, right? Which is probably why they have billions and I don't. But I'm also okay with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, understood. I would be okay with, anything. So, but how do you feel like life has changed since? Do you get lonely? Do you feel like you want to go back to, your business?
I thought I would, and a lot of people thought that I would. But no, that chapter, I feel like I got to write the final chapter. I was in control of it. I'm the one that put our business up for market. I made, between my husband, obviously, we consulted with each other, but I got to write the ending of that chapter the way that I wanted it to be. And I think if I had lost the business because of AI, or clients just fell off, or whatever the reason is, and I wasn't able to go out on my terms, I think I definitely would. But now that I'm starting this next phase of business, which is actually having conversations with business owners to help them feel empowered to make those growth changes, it's been more fulfilling. So I'm not lonely. I'm not, in fact, I'm just really enjoying this level of peace that I'm having.
Well said. And where are you going in the future, like with everything?
Yeah.
I want to
Um,
know about your future.
Thank you. I started a consulting business to help business owners get out of their own way. We are the bottleneck. We are the reason why things don't move forward a lot of the time. Um, and just having my goal is to create a safe space for people um, to be able to have those conversations. Here's what's not working, and I'm not quite sure why it's not working. Or here's where I am, and I'm not quite sure how to get to that next level. Because you can't share your struggles with everyone. Like I said, not everyone is in your corner. So creating a safe space where they can brainstorm and come up with a solution without being guarded um, is what the next phase is for me. And in that, I know the impact is so much more potentially than even with what I built with the business. With the agency, I just impacted one business, my own, right? Now, if I'm helping other business and other business owners, I'm helping hundreds or thousands of businesses grow and get to that next level.
How did people try to attack your weaknesses and threats, and how did you learn and turn into Leanne Bellevue 2.0? How did you learn and put a filter on their, you know, tormenting?
Whew. People come at you again from the most, I mean, all over, right? Um, I don't know if I figured out how to not care yet, um, but I have a supportive family. I have a supportive husband. I have supportive friends that when I hear it, they come at me. They speak truth to me, right? This is what's being said, but here's what we know to be true, right? And they make me fact check that for myself. But I am very much human. I do care. I want everyone to like me. I want to, I want to only experience love and great things, right? So um, it does still hurt when I read. A lot of times I don't read comments. And when someone comes at me with a rumor, before I even hear the rumor, when they say, "Oh, did you hear what so and so said?" I always say, "Wait, why did they feel comfortable coming to you with this kind of information?" Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because people who are in my inner circle, they know not to say anything to them about me because they know that that's not going to go over well. Right?
And they know it's going to come back to you.
Exactly. Exactly. So if if you have the answer to that, I would love to hear it. If you have a guest one day who has an answer, please share it with me because I think that that's the one thing I think I'm always going to struggle with is, I always want people to see that my intention is just to help and that um, I try very hard not to talk about people. I don't want them talking about me, right? So,
Especially in a negative way, you
yeah,
know. Um,
it's hard. Why do we have to do that to each other?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're saying this. Thank you. Yeah, and if you had to give any form of advice, before we end, what form of advice would you give to more advice would you give to an entrepreneur that want to be in your shoes?
If you want to grow and you want to get to the next level, focus on yourself, being the best version of yourself. Because how you show up for one thing is how you're going to show up for everything. If we get our minds right, we get our focus right, everything else just falls in place. We get so stuck in the how, it's not always about the how. Are we showing up as the best version of ourselves? Are we trying to always grow? Because if you're not growing, you're dying. And I am not ready to die yet, right? Keep growing.
And well said. And how can the people reach you, Leanna?
Absolutely. So all of our handles are at DeBellevue Consulting. My email is info@debellevueconsulting.com. I'm happy to respond to people. A lot of times people don't think it's actually me that does the responding, and it is. And then our website is www.debellevueconsulting.com.
Stay on the line. Thank you guys for joining my show today. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Never waste my time. You are I want.